This one should be short because I don't even remember this film. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is another installment in the Gauntlet of Garbage. We are almost done with this long nightmare. As you guys know by this point, every single January I look back at the films that everyone called the worst films of the previous year, and I watch them all as close together as quickly as I possibly can, just to kind of get a sense of what truly bad films are. That way I don't go around looking at okay films and going, well, that film is terrible. When you have actually seen terrible films, it makes you a lot more tolerant to just okay movies. And this film, I don't even think most people out there remember this film came out last year. But last year they put out a Ben Hur remake, which I've been saying this over and over again, but 2016 and now even going into 2017 with this new Resident Evil film, new XXX film, new Underworld film, it feels like these 2 years are going to be the years in which Hollywood did not get the memo. Some people just don't want these movies. And no one who in their right mind went into their boss's office like, all right, what's your pitch? And they go, we're gonna remake Ben Hur. That was pretty much a universal, it was pretty much we were all in universal agreement. That's one of those films that you can't remake.
I haven't seen the original one.
I will be totally honest with you, I have not seen it either. I've seen a lot of classic films, but even if I haven't seen it, it still just seems stupid to attempt something like that, because it'd be like trying to remake The Godfather or trying to remake Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Citizen Kane is the best example of it.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
Because it's no man, it came out at its time, and don't get me wrong, before somebody comes in the comment and goes, well, actually, I know that the Ben Hur that everyone loves, the one starring, the guy whose name I just forgot, Charlton Heston, the one starring Charlton Heston, I know that was a remake in and of itself. I understand that, but still, even if it was a remake, it got to that point in fame that was don't touch this. We did it one time, we came back, remade it, it's not gonna get remade again, because that one was as good and it's as well known and it's as famous as it can possibly get. Everybody, even people who have not seen it, are so aware of that one that they realize it would be stupid to try and remake it. And this thing tanked. It tanked hard. Which just goes to show, Hollywood, what is wrong with you? No one was asking for this. And no one thought it was a good idea. But, when you watch the trailer for this, it's pitched almost like Fast and the Furious meets Gladiator. Mm-hmm. Neither of which are things that I think of when I think of Ben Hur. But basically, for anybody who doesn't know, this film, although I do have to say, before I get into the summation of it, there's something in this film that I am not going to talk about until we get through with our initial thoughts. Mm-hmm. Because they hid this in all the trailers, but it's the thing they were expecting to bring in the audience for this film. So we'll get into that in a moment. And again, haven't seen the original Ben Hur, but from what I have heard from people, this certain element that I am alluding to was not in that original one. But I'll get to that in a second. But basically, for anybody who doesn't know, this film is about Judah Ben Hur, who he has an adopted brother who was part of the Romans. His adopted brother was Roman, and then as they grow up, the Romans are off and they're warring and they're conquering, and then his adopted brother is listen, I just don't fit in here. I need to go and find myself. Even though Ben Hur is loves his brother. He's has no problem with his brother. He's trying to do everything he can to make his brother feel welcome. Ben Hur's sister is in love with their adopted brother, and it's dude, this whole family is there to support you. What, how? I get it, you gotta go find yourself. Go on, have your journey, do that. He goes off, becomes some big general in the Roman army, comes back, and at this point the Roman army is they're kind of a threat. This is not really something that we want to be applauding, and they're going to come basically marching through Ben Hur's village, and he's listen, brother, just make sure everything's cool, make sure everything is alright, we're gonna just pass right through, everything will be fine. And then as they're passing through, this, I don't really want to say rebel, but this person opposed to the Roman army, who Ben Hur has let stay in his house, shoots an arrow at one of the other generals, and then they're all right, screw it, this guy was in your house, what are you gonna do with it? And they ask Ben Hur's brother, and he switches on a dime. There is no oh, I'm torn. my allegiance to the army or my family. He is just on a dime, like, nope, screw that. Mother, sister, you guys are dead. Ben Hur, you're sold into slavery. That's it. That's why you don't mess with the Romans here. It's like on a dime. He switches and I was like, oh, so you're not a complex character at all. You're just a piece of shit. Like, I just hate you now. Like, there is no, like, they never try and make it seem like they're trying to get inside his head, like, oh, what's he thinking? How is he going to respond? It's like, no, he's just instantly becomes evil. And then it cuts to Ben Hur. He's been in slavery for a while. He's on one of those giant rowing boats where they have the guy drumming, which is kind of a pretty decent action sequence of him escaping. I'll give him that. That was actually pretty decently cool looking. But then he meets up with Morgan Freeman, whose character never really has a name. They just keep calling him the African. But he raises horses, and when Ben Hur shows that he has a talent for racing horses, he's like, listen, if you want to beat the Romans, you don't do it with force, you do it by embarrassing them at the Colosseum when everyone is around looking at them. We're going to enter you in there and have you beat their lead guy, who also happens to be your brother. So it all comes down to this big chariot race, which that was the most famous thing from the original one. Which I gotta say, I have seen the chariot race from the original film. I haven't seen the original film, but I've seen the chariot race. The chariot race in this film that is like 60 years old at this point looked better than this. Like, this all could not have been more CG. In fact, there's a moment in which a horse gets thrown into the audience, and the horses look real until this one gets thrown into the audience, and then it turns into like Nintendo 64 graphics up there. It is awful looking. It doesn't look real at all up there. It looks like the horse just jumped out of the Money for Nothing video. It's so bad.
It's like Eponia glitched into the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Like the horse just starts walking into the wall repeatedly. It's so terrible. But throughout the majority of this film, I've been looking at this like, I am very opposed to this film because it was stupid to make this. But it's just a boring film, and I don't have any connection to anyone. I didn't really feel anything for it. But I wasn't hating on it until it got to that chariot race, and I was like, this should be the moment where things start getting amped up. This should be the moment which I can get in, like, really invested in all this. But I realized because I haven't cared about anything throughout this entire film, this is just so dull because I have no connection to anything.
Yeah, that's...
Like, I should be cheering on Ben Hur, but I was like, I don't care. I know Ben Hur's going to win, whatever. I don't know, like, there are all these other chariot racers they just introduced. I don't know any of them.
They all end up getting dead or trampled,
and you know that's going to happen because you know it's coming down to him and his brother. But I mean, because the brother just instantly went evil there, I was like, I don't have any connection to, like the brother had no love for Ben Hur at all throughout this film. Like, no matter what Ben Hur did, he was like, no, I must leave and find the Roman army. And then he comes back and he's just instantly evil. I was like, well, then I don't care. There's no, like, emotional connection here at all between you two guys. It's awful. Sorry about that, folks. We had to take a breather because there was a party going out in the hall. And this should tell you my feelings towards this film. Right before we started recording again, Michelle said, rewind it so we know what we were talking about. I don't care. I really don't. Like, I remember we got through summing up the entire film, and basically I was just saying, listen, I don't care about the relationship between him and his brother because his brother just instantly turned evil. And, like, there comes a moment in here where there's a big twist that reveals that his mom and his sister were actually still alive, but they were now lepers. They were in a leper colony. They were slowly dying over there. And he was like, no, what did you do to my mother and sister? This is worse than them being dead. I was like, I already thought they were dead, man. And you already hate your brother, and I already hate your brother. This doesn't add anything to it. It's just, this was just so lazy. And it's not lazy as in, like, people weren't trying. It's as in, like, people weren't trying well. Like, it's all bad trying, if that makes sense. It's basically, there's an old saying, practice makes perfect, but that's not true. Perfect practice makes perfect. This is no perfect practice. It's just people throwing shit up there. And yeah, I wasn't enjoying it, but, like, you know what? As much as the big event that you were leading to just failed, just completely failed, it's not going to be on my worst of the year list. Until we didn't plan that out, by the way. Until the last 5 minutes of this movie. I have never, not since, oh god, I can't remember, what was that, the vampire kid from Twilight, he went off and did like Remember Me, I think was the name of it. Not since that film have I seen an ending that just turned me from, yeah, whatever, to go f*** yourself so quickly. Here's the thing that we have not been talking about. There comes a scene early on in which they're in the market, Ben Hur and his sister, or it was his wife, both of them looked so close to dying. Like they were, both of them have no like importance to the film other than to just be there. So they were like basically interchangeable. And there's a moment where they're just talking, and then you just see this carpenter with a beard just saw it, and he starts telling them, it's like, yeah, but everybody should get along, and everybody should just be friends, and everybody should, just love each other. And I was like, that's an interesting thing for a carpenter with a beard to just show up and say, and like in unison, we both realized, Jesus? They didn't say his name, but I was like, was that supposed to be Jesus in there?
They say his name later on.
Later on, they do. But then later on, there comes a moment after Ben Hur gets arrested, and he is like going through the streets, and he's just like being like brutalized by the Romans. Jesus, his wife comes up, tries to give him water, and they're like, no one can touch him, no, stay away. Then Jesus just walks up, gives him more, and everybody's like, oh. Like, even the guy who just pushed away his wife steps back like, gasp. And like, yeah,
like, no one touch him except you, because you're Jesus.
Nobody messes with the Jesus. And Jesus gives him water, and he's like, you would do the same for me. And I was like, alright, it's kind of weird that you just had Jesus pop up a second time. It's just a weird cameo for him. Then later on in the film, the Romans are in town, and they just see Jesus giving a sermon about peace and treating each other well, all the good stuff that Jesus said. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this Jesus of Nazareth, he's going to be a problem. Like, that's when they finally actually said, that's Jesus. In case you hadn't picked up on this yet, I was like, all right, it's just kind of weird that you're just like weaving Ben Hur's story in there with Jesus. Then it gets to the last 5 minutes. After Ben Hur wins the chariot race and he gets his freedom and all that, it then just cuts to Jesus out there in the woods. And he then just gets attacked by the Romans. They just cram all Passion of the Christ into like 5 minutes.
Yeah, basically.
Because you see, I don't want to phrase it like this, but you see the greatest hits of like Jesus' life there. I hate saying it like that, but it is just like the Cliff Notes version of it. It's like, there's this, Thorn of Crowns, you will betray me, like all stuff carrying the cross.
Oh yeah, and when he was carrying the cross, then Ben Hur gave him water.
Yeah.
And so it all comes back around.
It's like a rival.
Ooh.
And I was like, did this just turn into...
Passion of the Christ?
No, I'm trying to think, oh god, what was the name of that Romeo and Juliet kind of spin-off thing, that movie? This just turned into the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead of the Bible. Like that movie, which was basically just kind of about these two characters from Romeo and Juliet just kind of like wandering around, going from like moment to moment in there, and like, it just turned into that, like, yeah, okay, this wasn't about Ben Hur at all. Oh, we tricked you. This was about Jesus and about how Ben Hur kind of was there the whole time, just kind of in the background. I was like, no, it wasn't. Ben Hur wasn't there at all. Not at all. And then I complained so much about Deus Ex Machinas. This is the most Deus Ex Machina ever. And I mean that literally. Deus Ex Machina, it's a term that just means when the answer to your solutions just arrive. They just come out of there and bam, just the answer that you need just arrives. But it comes from in old Greek plays, where when they didn't have an Indian Greek play, they would literally have a god come down and fix everything. That's why it means Deus, which means God. Ex Machina means from the machine. They would have a god come down on a little machine and just go, I solve everything, and then float out. That's how they would end plays. That's what Deus Ex Machina means. Literally at the end of this, Ben Hur is watching the crucifixion of Jesus, and then the sky just starts raining, and then his mom and his sister over in the leper colony, there's a drip of water coming from the rain down there. They put their hands out, drink it, we're cured. And it's not like they look at themselves in their game mirror. It's not like, oh my god, I feel something. They literally just...
It wasn't just...
We're cured.
That
was it.
No.
That is literally what happened.
It's not just rain. It was like rain that fell on Jesus. So it was like Jesus water. It was holy water that cured them.
Basically, a god literally solved the problem with that. And then Morgan Freeman comes in, buys them out of the leper colony, and then Jesus basically tells Ben Hur that you must forgive, and then he dies. And then Ben Hur goes to his brother, and his brother's like, I'll kill you, you'll never be my family. And then he just hugs him and goes, I forgive you, brother. Oh, Ben Hur, oh. Literally, I'm not kidding you. This is exactly how it happens. And I'm just sitting there, stunned at this ending. And then the film ends with Ben Hur taking his brother to see his wife, his mom and sister, both of whom are cured, and they totally forgive the brother, and it's obvious that...
And they're all just one big happy family.
And it's obvious that, like I said, Ben Hur's sister was in love with his brother, and it's like obvious they're going to end up hooking up. Like there's definitely still a connection there between the two of them. It's like, oh my God, you literally solved everything from this entire film in 5 minutes by just having Jesus fix it. Jesus Christ. Literally, it is stunning. It is flabbergasting that this film got that damn lazy there at the end. Like, this is easily going on the worst of, and it's shocking me because, like I said, the first 98% of this damn movie is like, whatever, I don't care, it's not good. It's that last 2%. And that is the stunning thing, that last 2% of this film is that damn bad and that lazy and that just almost arrogant, I want to say, because like I said, this film looked at films like God's Not Dead and all those other God, what are they called?
Like Christian...
Yeah, the Christian films, but there's a specific film term for like faith-based films. That's what they're called. They looked at all those faith-based films that have been coming out and doing very well at the box office and went, we're going to get that money. We're going to get that money in our pocket right here. That's why we're going to shove Jesus in here, even though he's not part of the film, part of the story of Ben Hur at all. We're going to shove Jesus in this thing. The Christian audience will come in here. We will clean up. And it's like, man, they did not. This thing tanked. And Christian audiences, I am so happy that you did not fall for this. Because this was just lazily trying to use people's religion to bank on. And the thing that no one seemed to explain to them is that even if the Christian audiences did come in, the reason why films like God's Not Dead and all those other things make lots of money is because they cost like 5 million tops. So when they make 10 million on their opening weekend, it's like, yeah, doubled our money. You guys didn't see that coming. Guess the Christian market is way bigger than you guys thought. This thing was like almost 200 million. It's like, dude, you're maybe gonna get 10 million from them. Like, that's the audience. Like, that's the audience that comes out for the faith-based films. What on earth are you thinking? This is, like, it is insane to me.
You know, it's like, throughout this entire movie, I was just thinking, gee, I could be watching Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
First off, the visuals are way better.
Yeah.
There's a stronger bond between the two brothers who actually, like, feel for them. You know, like Moses and, was it Ramses?
I never actually saw the film, so...
Oh, okay. But you know what I'm talking about.
I do know, yeah.
Yeah, and furthermore, this is less Deus Ex Machina than Ben Hur, and this is a story all about the Ten Commandments, which is all about God, and even...
Well, also, if it's all about that... Yeah, okay, you're kind of setting up God throughout the film. And this, Jesus is Where's Waldo. He's just popping in and like, hey, everybody, I'm Jesus. Be cool to each other.
Like, what's it? It's like, it's less forced.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
It's part of the story.
Yeah, and
Here, and our very special guest, Jesus.
Hey! Featuring God!
It's Jerusalem Live, starring Jesus, God, and with special guest Judas.
Yeah, but like even in the Prince of Egypt, they had like a race going on as for fun, you know, to like establish the bond between the brothers, and even that was
which is better. What they tried to do in this.
Yes.
It's so stupid, this film. Man.
Oh, God.
Oh, God indeed. Yeah, it's... Listen, I wanted to say, I hope I did not offend anybody's religion with this conversation. I really hope that I did, because you're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not going to go into like my own personal belief system, but like I fully believe that anybody out there can believe whatever they want to believe. However, judging this as a film, just magically having Jesus pop up there to fix all their problems that you have built the entire film around in the last couple minutes, that's just... It'd be like... I was gonna say, it'd be like if Thor showed up in the last 5 minutes of Captain America Civil War and went, everybody just be cool, alright? Here, I'm gonna give you all what you want, Thor out. And just flies up, and I was like, no! Because even though that'd be another god coming down to fix all the problems, we at least set up Thor in the previous couple movies. Yeah, it's like, this is just ridiculous. So, yeah, it is a frustrating example of what not to do as a filmmaker. Like, this is the kind of thing that for anybody out there who is like a film student and you're trying to do a course on like storytelling and you want to give an example to the class of what a Deus Ex Machina is, like, this is the most textbook example I can find. And like I said, it takes the film from who cares to wow, this is terrible. So quickly, it makes your head spin. So that's all I got on this. Like I said, we watched this, like, this was like the first film we actually watched in the Gauntlet of Garbage. Mm-hmm. But it was so just like, what? That we were like, we gotta give this some time. We gotta give it some time. Like, we watched this weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like you literally said, I don't want to record my reaction yet because I'm afraid I might start screaming. Those were your exact words.
Yeah, I was like, because, I mean, like, you guys know me. I complain about Deus Ex Machina probably more than anything else. Like, even when there are things that kind of get set up, like, yeah, let's live with Deus Ex Machina. This is like my punishment for complaining about so much. Like I said, I watch these bad movies so that I can look at okay films and go, okay, this is why they're not a bad movie. These are the redeeming qualities of it. This was like the film that I needed to watch so that I would look at all those other films that I said have Deus Ex Machinas in them and go, yeah, I guess not really. Yeah, no, I kind of just threw that word around. Probably shouldn't have. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. We have like 2 more of these things to do, and they are doozies. So thank you guys for joining us. Come back for more of the Gauntlet of Garbage, and if you want to see what this is all leading towards, later this week we will have my 10 worst films of 2016. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.